I mean, for the YouTube subscribers. Go subscribe already. Hit the fucking like button and subscribe before I knock your ass out, man. I ain't fucking with you, man.
UFC Vegas 33, one of the weaker cards I have seen in a while, guys, in my opinion. We'll be looking at the main card like usual. Not a ton of good betting spots here, so maybe a good week to maybe look at some value or lay low, because we do have some big cards coming up. It'll be a little shorter video this week, but I will go over all fights on the main card. Last week, let's get into last week, and this is a perfect week to show why sometimes UFC betting can be frustrating when you're counting on judges. The judges were at it again last week, totally seeing the fights different, at least 2 out of 3 judges in most cases. You know, not even just myself, the rest of the world agreed as well that the judges were just on the wrong side of at least 3 or 4 different fights. You know, sometimes you're on the wrong side of it, and sometimes you're on the right side, right? I've won tickets where I thought the guy shouldn't have won because the judges, you know, went for the other fighter. And then in this case, last week, I lost a couple fights because of the judges, and I did think the other fighter won. Starting with the Maverick fight, I personally wasn't on Maverick. I was on the over 2.5. I did think that over 2.5 was the best play. It made my best bet as a parlay piece. I had a 2-fight parlay best bet. I did lose that. I'll talk about that in a second. But my favorite was the 2.5. It wasn't even close to being coming finish, or the fight goes the distance, right? I did give that out to you guys. I said it was going to be a super close fight, and I didn't like a side. There was value with Barbara at the plus money. I wasn't going to lay that price with Maverick, even though I do like her. But she didn't do enough, right? She didn't have enough output, in my opinion, to substantially win the fight. But she won the first 2 rounds. Like, she definitely won the first 2 rounds. Last round, she did not win. So I think sometimes the judges look at that 3rd round a little more than the first 2, or they forget what happened the first 2 rounds. I don't know how they judge it. I just know I can do a better job than them personally. So I don't know what they're doing with their specific judging scoring cards, but it's something they have to look at, right? Next fight, the Phillips fight, was at worst a draw for him, right? He definitely won that first round 10-8, right? They're starting to score more 10-8 rounds. That's the perfect fight to score 10-8 in that first round. I'm surprised Paev lasted. I got to give props to him. I give him a clap. I was very surprised he lasted that first round. He was maybe 15 seconds away from getting knocked out. The bell rang. He got lucky, and then he showed a ton of heart, guys. Ton of heart. I think Phillips gassed a bit, but I think he could even won that 3rd round, Phillips. Again, I do think it should have been a draw or Phillips winning the fight, just because the damage. Look at the damage that he did to him in the first round. It was totally all Phillips' fight in the first beginning, and then, yeah, Paev got a few takedowns. He landed some, definitely won that 2nd round. And the 3rd round, it was a toss-up. I would have gave it to Phillips. But, hey, I had Phillips just in a smaller 2-fight parlay. I didn't have too much value on him. I did give him out, obviously, on the video. And most people did think he was going to win that fight. But, hey, the judges came into play there. And, you know, I got to give a shout to Paev, too, right? He came out after being destroyed in the first round 10-8. In my opinion, he came out strong, and he probably wasn't clear and all there. So he showed me something that, you know, he's a tough guy. He's not going to be easy to get out of there. And then the main event, right? Main event, what can we say? Very competitive fight. I was on the fight to not go the distance. Very surprised that it went the distance, to be honest, guys. I parlayed that with the 2.5 over in the Barber and Maverick fight that would hit easily. I'm still shocked, to be honest. It went all 5. Corey almost got him out of there in the 1st and 2nd round, especially with that cut. I'm surprised that it went that long. Now, if you look at it, who did the damage? It's obviously Corey. Corey did more of the damage. That's it's not debatable, right? He did a lot more damage. TJ really didn't do anything to him. He had some leg kicks and he had the control time on the cage. But what did he do? They were just hand fighting. He didn't do anything when he had that control time. He did push forward a little more. We know Corey's more of a guy that likes to strike, pick his spots, not put a ton of pressure. TJ was putting a little more pressure, I do agree. Now, I wouldn't say this fight was a robbery, but I do think it was fairly clear that Corey won 3-2. So, hey, I wasn't personally on it. I did lean Sandhagen. I didn't bet the fight. Actually, I did have a small play on the finish for Corey to finish, but it wasn't a strong opinion. My more strong opinion was the fight did not go to distance. It didn't get there. TJ did show a ton of heart. I do give him that. He looked good in there. I just thought Corey won the fight. A lot more damage, a lot more significant strikes, and TJ, he has some leg kicks, couple nice shots. He didn't do much. If you really look at the fight, he didn't do a ton in the damage department. So, hey, judges didn't have a great night. It happens. We were on a really nice run before last week. No winners last week on my personal betting card. Obviously on, minus the obvious ones. Like I said, the 2-fight parlay. I did hit the 2.5. I hit another fight as well. Yannis I had. He won that fight fairly clearly. But just no profit last week. And after a nice run, right? We had a nice run, good stretch there, 70% winners and 10 plus money winners in 5 cards. This is the updated here. Let's look at the weekly update here. So we did lose the best bet last week, like I mentioned. And you know what? It's tough when you lose it. In this case, I didn't lose the best bet because of the judges. Right, if I did, I would be a little more upset. I lost a couple other plays because, one other play, the Phillips fight, because I just feel for other people that had Maverick, that had Phillips in bigger plays, stuff like that. I feel bad for them, and it does happen in UFC. That's why sometimes it's very unpredictable. Sometimes to bet the UFC, you pick your spots, you think you have the right spot, and then the judge does something different. So. Overall, we're still running hot, guys. Just a bad week this week. Like I said, 70% winners before this, plus and 10 plus money winners in 5 cards with no winners last week. PGA, guys. PGA continues to run hot. My hottest sport right now, another profitable card last week. We had a big ticket winner, T10 winner with Schwartzel at plus 450. Plus 450 with Schwartzel, another big ticket winner. And we had another matchup winner going 1-0. We are on a 20-8 run in the matchup department. That's 71% right now. That's long term. I usually bet anywhere from 1 to 4 matchups every event. And best bets still going. No best bets last week. But we have a 60% long term. This is long term, guys. 60% long term record. NFL is coming soon, guys. NFL is coming soon. Futures video will be out for you guys at the end of August. I know I'll have a lot of guys jumping on board for my subscription service in the NFL. We all know my NFL record over the years. 70% 2 years ago, all documented on YouTube, all given out for free to you guys. Highest in the market, 70%. Last year, still in the 60% range, but not as good due to a slower start. We went on a 68% run for 10 weeks straight there. So minus the slow start because of the whole COVID issues and just feeling out the weeks. It was another good season, and this is my 6th profitable NFL season in a row. All right, guys, let's take a quick message and hear from my friend Meredith.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right, guys. Also, check out systemsportscapping.com. Systemsports.com. Get added to the client list today. I have new clients that come up every week, or at least a handful every month. And now, like I mentioned, when the NFL is around, I'm going to have a lot more. So you receive all my personal plays and best bets through email. Long-term winner, guys. Long-term winner over 5 different sports. I've been a long-term winner. It's all documented on my website. All different packages. You can do 3-day. You can do like a weekend package, just a 3-day to get the feel. Obviously, there's a week, a month, 3 months, and also 1 year. 1 year, you get the best sample size, and it's a low price as well. Let's get right into the card, guys. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. I'll go over the main event a little more, but the rest of the fights, guys, not too impressive. Remember, shop around, guys. Shop around for the best price. This is not the best price. This is not the best price. I suggest to shop around. Let's get to the main event. A random main event, guys. Uriah Hall is back after that weird, quick fight against Weidman. Plus 175 versus Strickland, minus 210. High price here. And it's an interesting main event, right? Whole card overall, to be honest, is interesting. We'll get into those fights after this. But Strickland, guys, I like what I see from the guys. Strickland has been riding hot, running through guys, right? And the Hall versus Weidman matchup a few months ago, what I mentioned at the top here, he never really got to show himself due to the Weidman injury, right? So, Hall's kind of in a stop and go. He had that win over Silva, but we all know Silva now, and then he's just kind of been off. You can't really count that Weidman fight. He didn't even throw a punch. Strickland, he's been very impressive, right? Overall in the UFC is 23-3, a very quiet 23-3. I think Strickland is probably the most quiet 23-3 fighter of all time in the UFC. Especially with that long layoff, guys. Remember, he had an over 2-year long layoff due to that injury that he had. I think, if I recall, I think it was on a motorcycle injury that he had. Very entertaining guy. He's been looking solid, coming forward, showing his solid striking and toughness. Like how he fights. 2 solid wins, right? 2 solid wins in his last fight over Brendan Allen, we've seen last week, who looked great, and Jocko as well, good striker. He has a ton of fights, and Strickland just picked him apart. That was his last fight. Hall, when you look at Hall, look at his record. It's not too impressive. However, I do think he's a much better fighter than that 17-9 record that he shows. I think he's getting a little disrespected here by the books, in my opinion. One reason I say is, the fight kind of fit Hall's style, right? Because Strickland does come forward and will strike. And that's what Hall wants. Hall wants to catch you with either a wild spinning kick or a knockout punch. And the Weidman matchup wasn't great for him, right? Because I did think Weidman would just control him and wrestle with Hall. And Hall does not want that. Hall will not want to look to get this to the ground. Could Strickland try to bring him to the ground? Maybe, but I don't think so. Will Hall try to bring Strickland? I don't think. I think it's going to be on the feet, guys. I think they're going to be striking. I think it's going to be a fun striking battle where I think volume will win, and I'll go over that here in a second. Strickland should want to keep this on the feet as well. It's just the only path I really think for Hall is he gets creative and finds like a spinning kick or something out of his arsenal, right? We do know Strickland, he got knocked out once in his career, and funny enough, it was by a spinning kick. It was by a spinning kick, and that's how he got knocked out. He hasn't been knocked out. He has a couple decision losses. One of them being to Kamaru Usman, if you guys remember that. Strickland, he doesn't have a ton. He does have some power, but he's more of a volume guy. If you look at the statistics here, Hall doesn't throw a ton of volume. Right? Hall doesn't throw a ton of volume. He looks for his spots, looks for that big shot, and you can see here in the strikes land per minute, Strickland does hand right over 5 here. Hall just over 3. That's something that can really play a factor here. I can see Strickland just coming forward, using volume, even maybe using some leg kicks, and Hall looking for that shot, right? That counter shot, maybe that, like I said, the wheel kick, the kicks. That's how I think this fight's going to go. It's going to be Strickland coming forward, trying to use volume, and then Hall looking for that shot. Sure, there's a ton of value here with Hall, and sure, he could find a finish. He could. And that plus 175 does look juicy. I just don't agree, and I just have a very hard time getting to minus 210. You know, as a professional UFC bettor, and I've been betting on UFC for a while, I rarely bet a minus 200 or above. Like I mentioned this last week, I did once, I think. And it actually backfired. I bet it once and it actually did not win. So this is something I lay off. If I really like it, I put it in a 2-fight parlay. Do I really like Strickland to put in a 2-fight parlay? No. Do I think Strickland's going to get the win? I do. So you have to try to get creative. Now, I don't think this fight's going to go the distance. You can get a pretty good price on the fight not to go the distance at minus 175. Shop around. You might be able to get something better. Strickland has never gone 5 rounds in his career. Sorry, he has once. He has once in 2013, but it's outside of the UFC. I don't really count that as in 2013. Hall, he never has. He went 4 rounds once. I just think because both these guys are going to be striking, there's going to be some big shots landed, it's not going to go all 5. I think it can go later in the fight, though. I think it can go 3, 4, maybe even the 5th round. And I think there's a TKO or KO at some point. So that's something you may want to look at here. Strickland, I do like him. I just don't like the price. Yes, there's value with Hall. If you put a small bet on Hall, I get it. Strickland is overpriced here, in my opinion, at minus 210. He's overpriced. If you look at the outcome, sure, you can get it at plus money. The outcome by KO is something you want to look at. KO, TKO, sub. You can get that plus money. That's the way I would look. But it's an outcome, right? You're getting a 50-50 shot. I just lean more to that KO prop. Minus 210 is not great, guys. Minus 210 is not great. You know, not sure this one's going to make my card. It's going to be a very small card this weekend for myself and subscribers. But I do lean Strickland here to get the job done, continue his streak, and hey, moving to 24-3. This guy's going to get a top 5 guy soon if he can get this victory here, and I think he can pull it off. Co-main. This is maybe the most interesting and / worst co-main event that I've ever seen, guys. I really think so. I really think it's maybe the worst co-main. I think I've said this before. I don't know if this beats it. It probably does. Kang, I'll go over minus 135 versus Yaya plus 115. Kang's on a quiet 3-fight win streak. However, he hasn't fought for 2 years, guys. He hasn't fought for 2 years. I think he had to do the Korean War because I did mention this before. If you're on, if you're not fighting, if you're a certain age, I can't really tell you the age. I think it's above 22, 23. You have to go in the military in Korea. So he had to go through that, and now he's back. He'll have the striking advantage from what I've seen on tape. I obviously had to go back and look at him. He has a ton of fights, but I had to go back and look at it. He looked like he had a very solid jab, and he will have a reach advantage here against Yaya. Yaya, we know what he likes to do. He'll want to grapple and try to get this to the mat, find a submission, which he is so good at finding those submissions. 21 submissions in his career. Kang does have solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He looks offensive as well when he does get on his back. So it'll be interesting. Maybe a scramble. Ronnie, his best path would be to get this to the ground and grapple and then find that submission, in my opinion. This is a fight I could see going over the 2.5 rounds and possibly the distance and make it to the judges. And when it gets to the judges, who knows what's going to happen these days, right? Especially in this Vegas atmosphere. This is not a fight I'll be betting. I'll be staying away from. But over 2.5 is my favorite play here. And it would be plus money or nothing on Yaya. Just because I can't count on what is Kang going to look like after this 2 years. I don't know. How much he's been training, I don't know. He did have a fairly bright future coming into the UFC. He had some losses, he had some wins, but then that whole military service ruined things. So it's tough to go all in on this fight. But yeah, I like the over here. We're just not going to know how Kang's cardio will be, right? So It's not something I can go all in, but I do like that over 2.5. Just give me a second here, guys. Buys. She's back in there after a tough debut. Minus 170 versus DePaula plus 145. I don't love this minus 170, but I do think Buys gets it done. It should be a striking battle, which I'm sure Buys is happy about. She likes to be on her feet. However, DePaula is a good striker as well. We saw what happened to Buys in her debut, right? She had some hype going into the UFC, but those hip tosses and throws from the Mexican fighter Ruiz, who I actually cashed on and put a big plus money winner due to Buys' situation. She was in the corner for her husband. Her husband lost the fight, and then she had to go in and fight. And Ruiz had a good game plan. She knew she can out-grapple, keep her on the ground, and that's how she won the fight. Buys is a solid striker. DePaula, like I mentioned, can strike as well. So if this is a back-and-forth striking battle, I think it's going to be close and it's going to go to a decision. That's why this minus 170 is not great. Now, I think Buys can exploit her on the ground. I'm not going to say Buys is great on the ground, but I think she's better than DePaula. DePaula looked terrible on the ground versus Fry's not really known for fighting on the ground or taking the fight to the ground. She got dominated there. So if Buys can mix it in, right, mix a takedown with her great striking, I think she wins this fight. I don't love the minus 170. I would look at the decision prop. You can get that at plus money. This may make my card this weekend, to be honest, guys. I don't see her starting 0-2. I think she's very confident. I like what I see from her. Pretty cute chick as well. I do think she could have some hype on her and could be marketable. She does have a little mouth on her too. She does like to talk. So if she could get some fights and wins together, keep this fight on the feet, maybe an impressive late KO, TKO, you never know. But I think more of a striking battle. Maybe Buys mix in a couple grappling exchanges where she wins the fight because of that. And I think she sneaks out and gets a decision here. You may want to look at the over 2.5 as well. Next fight here, Stoliz plus 170 versus Gooden minus 200. I don't really get this line either, guys. Both guys coming off losses here. Gooden has lost actually 2 in a row, and he's taking this on short notice. Very short notice. You know, another random fight that it's just a tough fight to bet, and it's mainly because of the lines here. You know, is Gooden the better fighter? Has he fought the better guy? Sure. But a minus 200 coming in on short notice and lost 2 fights in a row, I just can't get there. Gooden has fought the better guys in the UFC. Like I mentioned, how will his cardio be, though? Will his cardio be good enough? I don't know. It's going to be tough. He always looks like he comes in good shape. He's a good body, but it's more of like a thick style body, big body. He's cut. But how will that play out here on short notice? I don't know, right? Bigger guys like this do gas, and if they don't have a full training camp, it could be worse. So it's something to look at. I would maybe be looking at the over 2.5 rounds, if anything. But this is not a fight I'm going to be on, guys. You got to look at dog or nothing here. Benoit minus 130 versus Adeshev plus 110. Another ugly fight here to handicap. Benoit has lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, and Adeshev just hasn't fought much. He hasn't had much ring time. He's 0-2 in the UFC, where Benoit has fought a lot more. And the better guys, in my opinion, if you look at it, obviously, just because he's had a lot more fights. Benoit has shown me no ring IQ at all. This is why it's tough to bet this fight. His ring IQ is terrible. He usually has a wrestling advantage, and he just never gets to it. He just never decides to wrestle when he has the wrestling advantage. So I do think that's his best path. If he decides to just take him down here, wrestle, mix it in, I think he wins this fight. Gun to my head, I'll lean Benoit. And, you know, I can see this fight going over 2.5 rounds as well. Last fight on the card here. Barberena minus 270 versus Witt plus 220. Another big favorite here, and it's just, I can't get to this price at minus 270, even though I think Barberena gets it done. You can look at an outcome finish here. You can get it at plus money. Witt just doesn't have the best chin. He's been KO'd twice in his last 3 fights. Barberena has fought the much better guys. Luque, Randy Brown, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington. It goes on and on. I think you should find a way to win this fight. Just the price sucks. And, you know, the outcome prop, like I mentioned, sure. Witt does have a path to victory, though, guys, and it's to wrestle. If he decides to take him down and stick to it for 3 rounds, he could win this fight. He is the better wrestler in there. So keep that in mind before you guys throw it in the big 2-fight parlays. It's a little risky. He's probably the biggest favorite on the card, if I recall, or probably one of the more safer plays, I guess. But like I said, Witt decides to just wrestle and hold him down. He wins this fight. All right, guys, that will do it for this UFC Vegas 33 card. Not the best card, like I mentioned. Don't force plays. I'll have a betting card for my subscribers and clients like usual. I do have a couple plays I like on the prelims that I found, but this is not a card I will be heavy on volume. I'll be looking forward to the next couple cards coming up. All right, guys, like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. And until next week, take care.